Good evening, listeners, and welcome along to Across the Line here on Tip FM with myself, Paul Carroll, on this Friday, the 21st of November 2025. As always, over the course of the next hour, we will be looking ahead to what's coming up in the world of sport here in Tipperary. We're going to be speaking to John Crotty in just a few moments' time. He is the manager of Clonmel Óg. They're in a Munster junior football semi-final tomorrow in Clonmel Sportsfield. We'll talk to him about that. We'll hear about an upcoming Tipperary GAA fundraiser and how you can get involved. We'll also hear about the exploits of Tipperary's Orla O'Dwyer. The former Tipperary Jewel star is in an AFLW as basically a semi-final. They call it a preliminary final, but she's looking to make it to what would be her fifth AFLW grand final in the 6 seasons she's been in Australia. That game is on tomorrow morning, Saturday morning at 8:35. We'll hear from Mike Currane about that. Barry Ryan will join us on the show this week to talk soccer. Lots to talk about on an international level with the Republic of Ireland, and looking ahead to our World Cup playoff draw in Prague in March. Barry's going to give us his reaction to the draw. We're going to talk a little bit about the Ireland under-17s with Ross Gray's Brodie Lee involved, and we'll also look ahead to the local soccer taking place in the Premier County this weekend. And as always, the show will round off with Barry Drake looking ahead to the weekend's greyhound racing action. So that's what's coming up on this evening's show, and let's get straight into it. We mentioned Clonmel Óg, big game tomorrow in Clonmel Sportsfield at 1pm. They're playing Kerry side Ballymacalligat in the Munster junior football semi-final. And to look ahead to that game, I'm delighted to say I'm joined on the line by Clonmel Óg manager John Crotty. John, you're very welcome to the show.
Thanks very much, Paul.
Yeah, John, massive game in Clonmel Sportsfield on Saturday at 1 o'clock for yourselves. Munster Junior Club Football semi-final. It's Kerry's Ballymacalligat coming up to the Sportsfield. How's preparation been? You've come through a really good win in the quarter-final against Kilmyhill, 4-8 to 1-7. How's the last kind of couple of weeks been?
Yeah, I suppose, Paul, we came through that game in West Clare, and we've been playing away for the last 2 weeks. We kind of train twice a week. We do have, we have 4 young lads playing with the high school as well, so they're trying to play Harty and Senior A football in the high school as well, so, trying to protect those few little niggles, but I don't think we've anything majorly to worry about on that front. I think we'll go there with a relatively full team on Saturday.
Which is step one, I suppose, and coming into this game, coming off the back of the county final win against Bursakane, really good performance, as we said, against Clare. When you come out of the county into a competition like this, it's relatively into the unknown. So how did the whole kind of squad, kind of look ahead to this Munster Championship and approach it? And must be a lot of confidence built up after that win in Clare.
Yeah, and I suppose we won the county final the week before, the Saturday before, and like all county wins, we did celebrate it. So we celebrated it on the Saturday and then maybe into the Sunday. But, the lads came together and said, look, you're not going to get into these competitions too often, and let's have a go at it it was the following week. So we trained twice that week, and everybody bought into it. We went to Clare, we prepared well, and we went up early, So the lads wanted to have a go at it. It wasn't just to turn up, and make up the numbers. So, again, this week, very similar. Like, the lads have trained hard over the last couple of weeks. They're, up for it and really willing to have a go at it here. And it's great to have it in Clonmel as well, I suppose. And, we'd have to thank Commercial St. Mary's, and especially Martin Quinlivan, because once we won in Clare, there was talk of where the match would be played, but we didn't want to play it anywhere except Clonmel. And in fairness, they made that happen for us, so we're appreciative of that.
Yeah, and we saw the atmosphere down there last weekend for the senior football club game, so hopefully a really good atmosphere there on Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock. One of your main players throughout the year has been Darren McVicker, made his debut with Tipperary senior team earlier in this year, man of the match in the county final, and scored 2-4 in that Munster quarter-final win against Clymer. He's obviously one of your main men, but it's great to have him in really good form as well. Yeah,
Darren, in fairness, he was man of the match actually in the Clymer game as well. So, he's in really good form. I think he has scored something like 540 in the championship for us. Deadly accurate on frees, and any frees that we get, he'll nail every one of them. And then a real eye for goal, great pace around the ball. When that ball breaks, he's onto it inside. And he has a great step on him and an eye for goal. So, Dara, it's great to have someone on the county senior panel, and you can see how it brings them on when they come back to their club. And Dara has really, really excelled this year for us, yeah.
Yeah, that's great to hear that progression as he's still very, very young. But looking at the championship as a whole, I just had a look before we came on to the Munster Junior Club Football Championship down through the years, and a Kerry team has appeared in the final every year since 2008. Every year that it's been played, albeit it wasn't played in 2020. But so this is a semi-final year against a Kerry team. It's Ballymacalligat who came through a county final win on penalties against St. Senans. But that county final was back in mid-September. So while the Kerry teams are very, very strong in this competition, the fact that they mightn't have played too much in the last while is a bit of a help on your end.
Yeah, it is, and I suppose in September, and that game was on cover, Paul. I had to look at it. In September the conditions were different than they would be on Saturday in Clonmel. I suppose the fields have gotten wetter. We're into winter football now. 2-pointers are very, very hard to get now. So we will really need to kind of work hard. And as you said, hopefully they may be a little bit rusty. Not having played since mid-September, 2 months. We've been playing fairly consistently for the last 5 or 6 weeks. And kind of getting a bit of momentum going. But to your point, I suppose the Kerry teams, and I was just looking at it myself earlier on, so they've won like 19 out of 22 Munster titles in junior football and 11 All-Ireland. So, their grading system is different down there, so we expect a massive challenge. But look, we're delighted to be there. We're absolutely delighted it's in Clonmel and in our own town, and we're going to go there and give it our best shot and get really high work rates out of the lads and see where it takes us.
Well, John, we wish you the very best of luck, and hopefully there's good news coming out of the Clonmel Sports Field on Saturday afternoon. So thanks for joining us on the show, and the very best of luck.
Thanks very much, Paul. Cheers.
Clonmel Óg manager John Crotty there as we stay moving forward on this evening's show. Big fundraiser happening for Tipperary GAA in just a few weeks' time. So to hear about that and a little bit more, I'm glad to say I'm joined on the line for the current Tipperary GAA Communications Officer, Jonathan Cullen. Jonathan, you're very welcome to the show.
Thanks, Paul. How are you?
Oh, good. Yeah, we're looking ahead to some exciting things for Tipperary GAA coming up in the next few weeks. But I suppose, firstly, the lads are just back, I think, this last couple of days from their All-Ireland winning trip to South Africa. So seems everyone had a great time down in Cape Town.
It was fantastic, Paul. Yeah, it was a brilliant experience for everybody that was I suppose, privileged enough to be able to go, and the lads definitely had a good time. They enjoyed themselves, and but I think they really, really represented themselves and their families and their clubs and their county with absolute distinction on the holiday. They're an exemplary bunch of young men, and I think, again, it instills great pride in everybody when you see these bunch of people and how they can, gel as a group and look after each other and just really have a good time. And they're home now, and I suppose the eyes are on 2026 now, Paul, so everything is ready to probably get going very, very soon.
Yeah, that's it. We're slowly transitioning really from looking backwards on 2025 to looking ahead to 2026. But before we get there, there's some events that Tipperary GAA have lined up for the coming couple of weeks. Tomorrow, 3 weeks, is the 6th of December. Big fundraising night in Templemore in Our Lady's School. Tell us a little bit about that, Jonathan.
Yeah, so it's the Tipperary GAA Quid Game and Rebel Hearts live in concert. It's a huge fundraiser that we've undertaken over the last number of months. We have 37 contestants in the Quid Games element of the night. All of those contestants from all around the county who are raising money both for Tipperary GAA and indeed for their own chosen club or charity. It's a huge event, and I suppose it's probably unique in a sense that we have a large number of the Tipperary senior hurling panel taken to the stage on the night, including our hurler of the year and young hurler of the year, who will be actually taking part, John McGrath and Dara McCarthy. And we have Andrew Ormond, we've Brian O'Mara, we've Rhys Shelley, and lots more. Then we have the likes of Clodagh McIntyre from Laura. We have Conor O'Brien from Óg and Carty. We have Derval Ryan from Mind Temple 2. He is competing and trying to raise some money for the Mind Temple 2 ladies football club. And Ross Bonner, one of the Tipperary under 20 footballers. Dean Kelly. There's loads and loads taking part. So I mean, it's probably really unique that we have, as I said, we have all stars, we have hurlers of the years, we have all Ireland medalists, we have just personalities from all over the county, including yourself indeed, Paul, and we have Shane Brophy and lots more. And I suppose our supporters have come out through the year to look at the likes of John and Jason and Reese and all those guys playing with each other. On this occasion, they're going to be playing against each other, battling it out for the top prize of €10,000 for their chosen charity. And also then, of course, we're delighted to be partnering with Clonmel Óg Special School in Cashel, and Tipperary GAA will be making a substantial contribution to Clonmel Óg from the proceeds of the night as well. And so it's going to be a huge night. Everybody, all the contestants are really, really working hard to raise their money with some novel ideas, including your own one there as well, Paul, with your 1,000 pucks and everything.
The hands are just about recovered.
So it's brilliant. And then, we have the world famous Rebel Hearts after that. So it's going to be, and it's probably going to be a night to remember, to party the night away as well. And after that, we spoke about 2026, so it's probably the last chance a lot of people are going to get to meet our county players, our All-Ireland winning team and members, and along with all the other fantastic people from around the county that have put themselves forward and are working really, really hard to raise their money as well for as I said, Tipperary GAA, Clonmel Óg, and indeed their own chosen charity. So we're really, really appealing to everybody to come along on the night. It's €20. It's absolutely fantastic value for the entertainment that's going to be there on the night, to see the lads battling it out. And then you have Rebel Hearts, and we have there's a full bar and everything there on the night as well in Our Lady Secondary School. So it's going to be a night that hopefully one of the best nights of the year that we would have, and giving people a really good opportunity to come out and get in the spirit for Christmas, and while also making a contribution to helping the fundraising activities of Tipperary GAA.
Yeah, and tickets online and on the night, as far as I'm aware.
That's correct, Paul. Yeah, so tickets can be purchased online through our Tipperary GAA app, the GAA app, the fundraising section, the event section of the app, and it's also on the website. And the links to purchase your tickets have been circulated widely on social media and things like that, and through the clubs. And then, as you said, you can pay on the night on the door on the night too. But we would really advise people to buy their tickets beforehand, because obviously we have a capacity, and once we reach that capacity, well, there's very little we can do, and we don't want people to be disappointed, to be honest, on the night.
And in general as well, I suppose the Quid Games element people might be familiar with from different clubs doing it throughout the country and the county. Indeed, it's kind of very similar to nearly the TV show The Cube, where there's kind of little games kind of going on.
Exactly. So you have lots of different games. I think the first game is something like the name of the first game is Sort Your Balls or something, I think it's called. So it's kind of it's no. There's a fun
that one, I'd say, Jonathan.
I think on the TV show you'll have your different colour balls, and you have to sort them from one side to the other in a certain period of time, and it battles down like that. Then so you have a number of different rounds, and it comes down to the last round where there'll be just two people left contesting it, and to battle it out for €10,000. And in fairness, it's a fantastic prize. €10,000 to somebody's club or their chosen charity will make a huge difference. And also, I think it's important to point out that as it stands, through this fundraiser, Tipperary GAA at the moment will be contributing probably in excess of €50,000 to local clubs and charities. So it's not just about Tipperary GAA here. It's about the people that have come on board, about the participants, and it's about everybody really getting behind Tipperary as a county and Tipperary as a whole, and celebrating what happened in 2025, and taking the opportunity to be able to give a little bit back, both to the players and to their charities, and I think most importantly, and personally as well, I suppose a huge thing is called Clonmel Óg in Cashel, because they're a fantastic school, and they need every few bob that they can get to do great work over there. And Tipperary GAA are just so delighted to be able to partner with them for this event as well.
Yeah, well, just finally, Jonathan, your term as PRO is coming to an end, albeit you're a new a new role in there in Tipperary, in the county board in the last few months, as a kind of a fundraising officer, among other things. But I'd imagine fundraising at the minute, it's obviously very important. We've a lot of new projects coming on board in Tipperary, none more so than Dr. Morris Park and things like that, and the cost of running teams and things like that. But I'd imagine 2025, particularly the second half of 2025, has probably been an easier time to raise money in Tipperary than maybe this time last year.
Of course, Paul. I mean, there's no denying that. Like, I mean, there's a really, really good feel-good factor about Tipperary GAA at the moment, and you know the on-field exploits of our senior hurlers, has been the standout moment of the year on field, and the joy and the happiness that they brought to the county, and everybody is getting behind them, and as I said, they're an exemplary bunch of young men as well, and then the announcement recently then of the new developments in Clonmel Óg Park, it's going to be huge. It's going to revolutionise Tipperary GAA and the GAA within the county as a whole. That we're going to have 5 top class pitches now, and then a state of the art centre of excellence within the next 3 to 4 years. And it's thanks again. We've said it before, but thanks in a big way, obviously, to John Magner and Clonmel, because without them, this wouldn't have happened. And we're very, very grateful. But we look to the future now, and we look to the future of the GAA within Tipperary with this new facility that's going to come on board, and how that's going to make a change for all our teams, from club teams, inter-county teams, every team, and the difference hopefully that it will make, and the success hopefully that it will bring. Obviously, it's not just going to be a click your finger moment and we have the fine facility, so we're going to win everything. There's obviously a lot of work goes in and a lot of hard hours on the pitch and getting ready for matches, but this will make a huge difference. And obviously fundraisers and events like the Quid Games and the Rebel Heart concert, that'll all go towards that as well, and help in every bit, in every way, to get to our goal of having that facility ready and in use by 2029. So yeah, look, there's great times ahead, and there's a great future for Tipperary GAA. And as you said, I'm coming to the end of my term as communications officer now, 5 years. Some good times, some bad times, or whatever the case may be, but I enjoyed it, and I look forward now. I suppose I'm lucky in a sense that I'm now working in a full-time role within the GAA, and it's a dream job for me, and it's a dream come true. I suppose when you're working at something that you love, it's not really a job, and I'm lucky to be in that position now, and I intend to do my best for Tipperary GAA and for everybody involved going forward as well.
Yeah, well, fair play, and very exciting times to come, especially with that the Clonmel Óg Park development. So plenty to look forward to, but none more so than Saturday, December the 6th for that Quid Games. Gets underway, Jonathan, is it 7 or 8 o'clock?
8 o'clock. It'll be 8 o'clock sharp, and it'll be starting. And as I said, there's full bar facilities. There'll be lots and lots of room inside. It's a huge venue in Our Lady Secondary School. And just, as I said, to all our Tipperary supporters, just if we can at all, come out on the night, have a good night. I know there's clubs and organisations and schools going to use it as their kind of their Christmas party night, or they go for a bit of food or whatever in Templemore or Thurles before they come heading over to the Our Ladies and make a night of it. And just everything will be good fun, good crack, and just get into the Christmas spirit. And we really appreciate all the support that people have shown so far.
Well, brilliant stuff, Jonathan. Thanks for joining us on the show, and enjoy the weekend.
Thanks, Paul.
Now, before we take our first ad break, let's just have a rundown through what else is happening in the Premier County this weekend. Of course, before speaking to Jonathan, we spoke to John Crotty of Clonmel Óg. Their game against Ballymacalligat of Kerry is on in Clonmel Sportsfield, 1 o'clock on Saturday. That is the Munster Junior Football semi-final there. Also tomorrow we have the North Junior A Football Final. That's taking place in Cloughjordan at 3 p.m. Burgess against Killerone McDonagh's. Tomorrow evening then at 7:30 in Feathertown Park, Feather to take on Care in the South Under-21B hurling semi-final. Let's go on to Sunday then, and if we look at what's happening in the County Junior B Football Final is taking place on Sunday. That's on in Feather GAA, so Feather GAA, not Feathertown Park. It is Galtee Rovers against Golden Kilfeacle at 2 p.m. throw-in time there in Feathered. There's also plenty of under-21 action taking place around the county on Sunday, but some of the key knockout games, the biggest one is the South Under-21A hurling final. That is Ballingarry against St. Pat's in Kilsheelan at 2 p.m. And while I mentioned St. Patrick's, speaking to a couple of lads from that club, and worth mentioning, that club is St. Patrick's is Drangan and Clonmel. So I think a few times before I just said Drangan, but Drangan and Clonmel make up St. Patrick's. So that's a big day for their club there against Ballingarry in the South Under-21A hurling final in Kilsheelan, 2 o'clock on Sunday. The South Under-21A football semi-final sees Clonmel Commercials meet Kilsheelan Kilcash. That's at 12 noon on Sunday in Ned Hall Park in Clonmel. And at 1 p.m. on Sunday, you've Killinall against Carrick Swan. That is the South Under-21B football semi-final. And on Sunday evening at 7 o'clock in Feathertown Park, Skeena-Rinky against Knockmeal Down Gales. That is the South Under-21B hurling semi-final. So those are some key fixtures to look out for. In the world of camogie, Moycarkey Burris are in the Munster Intermediate Club camogie final on Saturday. That is against Corkside Ballincollig in Mallow at 1 p.m. That was meant to take place last Saturday, and on last week's show we spoke to their manager Ray Ralph, and but the game got called off on Friday evening, and it was meant to take place last Saturday. It is going to take place this Saturday, tomorrow at 1 o'clock in Mallow. So we wish all at Moycarkey Burris the very best of luck there in that one against Cork's Ballincollig. Right, let's take a quick ad break. Plenty more sport to come after these. And you're very welcome back to part 2 of Across the Line here on Tip FM with myself, Paul Carroll, on this Friday, the 21st of November 2025. Now, you might heard on our sports bulletins there throughout the afternoon a very unique scenario with Nina CBS in the Harty Cup. So well done to Nina CBS and Our Ladies Templemore, the 3 Tipperary teams who've made it through to the last 8, the quarterfinals of the Munster Under-19A hurling competition, and commiserations to Cashel and Clonmel High School, who both just missed out on the quarter-final places. But Nina, in their own minds, had to put up a score on Cashel on Wednesday as the group stages came to a conclusion to go through to the knockout stages, or to top the group over Flannan's. They had to beat Flannan's score difference, which they did, and that was probably why they ran up such a big score and targeted goals early in that game against Cashel inside UL on Wednesday afternoon. So Nina, as everyone kind of presumed, had topped the group. But no, it was been reported today in the Irish Examiner that the way they have it sorted, so Nina and St. Flannan's were both level on 5 points. They won 2 games and they drew against each other. So it couldn't go to head because they drew against each other. So you then think it goes to score difference, and Nina had the better score difference. So you're presuming that Nina topped the group and will go through as group winners. And why that is important is there's 2 pots for the quarter-final draws. You have the group winners against the group runners-up. So if you're a group winner, you'll get on paper an easier draw. But the Examiner reported today that St. Flannan's topped the group now instead, and Nina go through as group runners-up, and that's because of a new rule that changed in the last couple of years. It's not something I was familiar with before, but the way it goes is Flannan's against Nina, that game ended as a draw, 218 to 121. Flannan's scored 218 to Nina's 121. And because Flannan's scored 2 goals and Nina only scored 1, it's St. Flannan's who go through, and that is the tiebreaker they use, who scored most goals in the drawn game between the 2 teams. So not something I was familiar with, not something I'd seen before, but that is the update there. So both Nina and Our Ladies Templemore go through as group runners-up, and Thurles CBS are a group winner. So in theory, there's a 66% chance that Thurles CBS will be playing a Tipperary school in the quarterfinals. Not sure exactly when those quarterfinal draws will take place, but yeah, strange one there for Nina CBS, and I can't imagine they're too happy up the road in Summerhill from where I am here in Pearse Street about that. So that is just something I wanted to bring up. But yeah, we're going to switch attention now to the world of soccer, and Barry Ryan joins me on the show, our soccer analyst. Barry, you're very welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Paul.
Barry, obviously the talk of the country really the last week has been the Irish soccer team. Just unbelievable scenes last Sunday when they beat Hungary, last minute goal. Now the draws was made yesterday for the World Cup qualifiers, and these are taking place in March. Ireland are away to Czechia, formerly Czech Republic, and then if they win, they'd be at home to Denmark or North Macedonia to get to a World Cup. But on the face of things, Barry, that's not too bad of a draw.
Yeah, look, Paul, I think it's kind of one of those now where there's no easy games in international football anymore, and I think we've that's probably borne fruit over the last couple of years. You've seen, like, you know, we were beaten over in Armenia. You know, that's just the level of international football now. Every tie is difficult. But in terms of what we could have got, we knew once we ended up in pot 3, we knew we were going away. Czech Republic was probably the draw that everybody wanted. It's Czech are a decent side in terms of they have a couple of players people will know, Soufal at West Ham and stuff like that, but ultimately they probably don't have the spread of Premier League players that maybe someone like Wales would have had if we had to go to Cardiff. So Czech Republic's not the worst draw. They were actually beaten by the Faroe Islands in qualifying. So look, that will really kind of show the vulnerability and the weakness that the Czechs have themselves. Even in terms of the venue, it only holds 19,000, so the allocation will be only about 800 or 900 tickets for the Irish fans, which is the one drawback. But on the flip side of it, you're not going into a cauldron and a big huge stadium like going away to Turkey or even going to Cardiff would have been a full house. So I suppose it's not the most intimidating of semi-finals.
Yeah, and we're looking ahead here now, but if Ireland were to get a result there, the fact that the final, the last game to try and get to a World Cup, if Ireland are there, would be on in the Aviva, like that would be one of the biggest Irish soccer games on this country ever.
Yeah, look, unbelievable. 90 minutes, in Dublin to get to the World Cup. We couldn't have asked for any more, even at the start of the campaign. And a few weeks ago, that looked really, really unlikely. But I think even the performance in Dublin against Portugal, the performance in Dublin against Hungary, Dublin has been a fortress for Irish teams over the last number of years. And I think in terms of if we had to go to Copenhagen, it would have been really, really difficult because the Danes do possess, Kasper Schmeichel in goals, Patrick Dorgu is at Man United, Rasmus Highland is doing well over in Italy, Christian Eriksen's was only on the bench, and even to sum up the other night when the Danes played midweek against Scotland, Christian Norgard, who's at Arsenal, was only a sub. So that shows you the calibre of what Denmark do have, to be fair. So I think getting that game in Dublin is massive.
And just as a general on Ireland, what have you made of, like, obviously this last week has been incredible with the 2 wins, but style of play wise, anything like that, is it just simple as, they've kind of hunkered down and have gone more direct, and that the way soccer is kind of going at the minute, and you're coaching yourself, it's almost like in the last 12 months there's been a kind of a shift away from the kind of playing out from the back and we see it in the Premier League at the minute. A lot of it has gone back to long balls from the throw-in, long balls down the field, goalkeeper kicking it long. I'd say Sene Lamans for United hasn't played much short ball at all out from the back. It seems to be all going long. Have Ireland kind of bought into that a little bit, or what way do you read it?
Yeah, no, you're completely right, Paul. In terms of, if you look at Ireland's results, and people would have said, it was a huge ask for the final 2 games, they were going to have to beat Portugal and go and win in Hungary. Ireland are better against top nations because Ireland then are forced to play long. They can't play through midfield against people like Hungary that would have Szoboszlai in the middle where he'd dominate and stuff like that. So Ireland are much, much better when they have to play against the top sides, and we have to be more direct, hit the channels, get them turned, play in their half. Whereas when Ireland went to Armenia and tried to dominate possession and play through the thirds, the whole thing completely unravelled, and Armenia were the ones that were able to sit back and play in the transition. Ireland are always better against the top nations. Even if you go all the way back to Darren Randolph in the Aviva, kicking the ball 70 yards and Shane Long running in behind the Germans and scoring on a famous night where Ireland beat Germany. That's the type of football where Ireland have always been more effective. It's in our DNA, even as a country whose, national sport is Gaelic games and stuff like that. We're conditioned to play physical, aggressive football. I suppose the Jack Charlton kind of put them under pressure. And like you said, that's actually come right back now into modern football. It's amazing the way the trends and the game evolves all the time. Like Arsenal were, I suppose, for years under Arsene Wenger trying to walk the ball into the net. And now people are criticising Arsenal for being almost anti-football, that all their goals are coming off set pieces. So it's amazing the way teams evolve, and I think the Irish team have evolved now, and I think the test will be going over to the Czech Republic. Will Ireland, where they will have a little bit more possession than they would have had against Hungary or Portugal, it's important that they remember what grinded out those results in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and it's a style of play that I think people are really welcoming back, I think, from an Ireland point of view anyway, because there was a few years where people were maybe sick of that style of play. Stephen Kenny came in and tried to change it, maybe didn't get the results and was a little bit unlucky at times as well, but the fact that it's gone back to the other way now and we're getting a few results, there's a real appetite there for it. But just while I have you, Barry, we had some local interest as well at the national level. Roscrea's Brodie Lee was on the Ireland squad and played a couple of games over at the Under-17s World Cup in Qatar. Roscrea native, down with Cork City at the minute there, and seems to be all going well for such a youngster.
Yeah, look, it's been absolutely fantastic. I was actually over in Killavilla only the night before last doing a session with the senior team as they get ready for a big Leinster Junior Cup game at the weekend, and everyone I met when I came in was chatting about Brodie Lee and they're extremely proud of him. And obviously I'm involved myself down with Cork City, and it was a huge move for Brodie to leave Shamrock Rovers Academy. Obviously they've produced Michael Noonan and a lot of top players up in Shamrock Rovers, Gavin Bazzuno and different people that have gone across to England, but Brodie took a chance, I suppose, to come to Cork, and it's really worked out. He featured against Celtic and Páirc Uí Chaoimh in that glamour friendly. He's got into the senior team for a few appearances towards the end of the season, and now he's got on the pitch over in the World Cup as well. So his career is going from strength to strength. Everyone in Cork says he's a particularly good young fella in terms of his display and his attitude. So everything is in place for him to carve out a really good career in the game. You just hope that he gets a little bit of luck with injuries and stuff like that. But it's a brilliant story for everyone, I suppose, in Tipperary and particularly Killavilla and Roscrea to see him play and feature in a World Cup. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's definitely a name we'll all be keeping an eye out here in Tipperary for the next couple of years. That's Brodie Lee from Roscrea, who represented Ireland there over at the Under-17 World Cup in Qatar. More locally now in the local leagues and the Munster Junior Cup. We have one game in the Munster Junior Cup this weekend. It was meant to be played last weekend between St Michael's and Ballymackey, but the pitch unplayable, I believe, last weekend. So I think have St Michael's lost home advantage here, Barry?
Yeah, so it's one of those where St Michael's pitch wasn't deemed playable. I'd say it was a case of probably protecting the pitch in terms of, I think they might have got away with playing it, but the pitch may have been out of action for a number of weeks, and if they had played it, there was significant rain. So the venue then flips to Ballymackey, but now the next thing for Ballymackey is, whilst their pitch I'm sure is playable, you have to have showers and facilities like that available. So I'm not sure if that's available in Ballymackey, so the game could revert back to Coo Park. As far as I know, that was still up in the air until 24 hours ago. So right now the game is fixed for Ballymackey, but don't be surprised if closer to the weekend it reverts back to Coo Park.
Yeah, that's 2 o'clock on Sunday, so keep an eye out for that one. Two Tipperary teams looking to get into the last 16 of the Munster Junior Cup. Just one game in the TSDL Premier League this weekend. Tumall Burris at home to Castletown, and if Tumall Burris are going to continue their quest to try and get to the top of the table, they're currently second on the table as I read it here. This is must win at home to bottom place Castletown.
Yeah, look, I think Tumall Burris will see this as a great opportunity at home with Peak Villa and St Michael's idle and not playing in the TSDL this weekend. They'll see it as a great opportunity to put 3 points on the board, and now I'd be quite confident that they will. What I'll be looking for from this result is, can Tumall Burris win with a clean sheet? They've been conceding few too many goals to my liking, but maybe it's the nature of the way they play. They're a really attacking side, and maybe it's just a consequence of that. But in terms of going and grinding out a league title and really staying in the mix for the end of the season, I'd like to see them tighten up a little bit at the back. And Cashel then at the other end are desperate for points. So I suppose for them it's a tough ask going away to Tumall Burris sides that are going really well, but Cashel are going to need to pick up a win or a point somewhere really soon.
Yeah, and looking at the results then in the north, or the fixtures in the north of the county this weekend, really tight at the top of the NTL Premier Division. Ardcroney are in first with 19 points. You've BT Harps and Moneygall both on 16, and Shinrone on 15 points, so very tight up at the top. Friday evening this evening at 8 o'clock, Rare Cross host Moneygall, so Moneygall looking to go level on Ardcroney if they can get a win there. Ardcroney themselves on Sunday morning at 11am are away to Holy Cross. Shinrone United are at home to BT Harps, so that's a clash of second against fourth, and then our Rovers hosting Sally Park in the other game on Sunday morning. All of those at 11am on Sunday morning, so big weekend of soccer to come in the county. As always, Barry, thanks a million for joining us on the show.
Thanks a million, Paul.
Now let's switch focus and switch country to Australia, because in the tomorrow morning at 8:35am the Brisbane Lions are taking on Carlton in the AFLW preliminary final, basically the semi-finals with the winners getting through to the grand final, and Tipperary's Orlo Dwyer in action there down in that one. So to just giving us a preview of that game, delighted to say from AFLW Ireland we're joined on the line by Mike Currane. Mike, you're very welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Paul. Always great to chat about AFLW, especially when it's getting to the business end of the season.
Yeah, and it's always great to have Tipperary involvement in the business end of the season. Saturday morning you have the two, as we would call them here, semi-finals, but preliminary finals as they call them in Australia. North Melbourne against Melbourne is on first, and then at 8:35am it is the Brisbane Lions against Carlton, and it's becoming a yearly tradition, an annual tradition really, for Brisbane Lions to be in the latter stages of the AFLW season, and Tipperary's Orlo Dwyer has been a large part of that once again this year.
Yeah, indeed. And look, without question, Brisbane Lions are probably one of the most successful teams of all time in terms of AFLW since the competition started. This is their 6th consecutive preliminary final, a fantastic achievement. They've won 3 premierships. They've been in 6 grand finals. It really is a roller coaster of a success story all the way from the beginning. And Orla Dwyer, of course, has been there since 2020. This is her 7th season, and she plays an integral part and a very important part in that Brisbane Lions team, and a huge game coming up for them at the weekend.
Yeah, it's against Carlton, who beat them in the regular season early on. Brisbane had another defeat to North Melbourne then a couple of weeks later, but since then they've gone on to win 8 games in a row, so they've certainly found their form, and as you've said already, they're no strangers to this part of the season.
No, that was a really interesting result. Brisbane have been known to have a little hiccup early in the season across the last few years. Actually, it tends to be how they go about things, with an early season loss, and then they just seem to drive on from there. But this year it was even more relevant in that round 3 loss was to Carlton, and I suppose that was really the game where Carlton announced themselves as real contenders for this season as well, and they've gone on to prove that from that day forward. They backed that up throughout the season, and I suppose they've been one of the most exciting teams, one of the fan favourites in terms of how they've gone about the competition, and there's huge interest in them in the semi-final. But that loss followed up by the loss to North Melbourne, of course, which everybody else has done as well, because they're on a phenomenal win streak at the minute. But those 2 losses, Brisbane haven't looked back since then. As you pointed out, they're 8 wins in a row, straight into the preliminary final from the qualifying final, which meant they got an extra week's break as well coming into this game. This is where they're most comfortable. This is where they like to be, at Brighton Homes Arena, their home ground, their turf. Carlton have to fly up to Queensland for this one. It's very hard to win up there. It's even harder to win up there in finals. But yeah, 2 mouth-watering games to see who makes it to this year's grand final.
And just talk a little bit about Orla Dwyer herself. She's named at centre. I'd imagine it's a very important position in the field in terms of being on a lot of ball, and seems to have a great engine, but her role in particular.
Yeah, look at her. Orla really has nailed down that wing role, playing in those central positions for the Lions, I suppose, and it's a really important one because it's probably the role where you transition or you link defence to attack, and because the game transitions so quickly now from defence to attack, and with a lot of counter-attack of that, Orla and that wing position are probably integral to a lot of that. And, she has that trademark left leg that's able to deliver that ball as far as anybody in the competition, up to 40, 50 metres of a kick. So, yeah, that's hugely important. And look, she's been phenomenal for the Lions. She's played 80 games up to this weekend. She was the first Irish player to reach a 75-game milestone there a few games back. Obviously, she's won 2 premierships with the Lions already in 2021 and 2023. Only the 2 Irish people have multiple premierships. It'll be interesting to see if she becomes the first to have a third. She was the first Irish player to win an AFLW All-Australian Blazer in 2022. So, she's been hugely successful all along the way and has nailed down that, I suppose, wing position, and has got better year on year, I know, which is obviously fantastic to see as well. And still only 27 years old as well in her 7th season. So looking forward to seeing how Orla goes at the weekend.
Yeah, she's made a fine career of it down in Brisbane, and hopefully the success continues on. Tomorrow morning, 8:35. Is there a place to watch this live, or are we deferred footage here in Ireland?
The only place we can watch it live is via the Watch AFL app, which is subscription. So I think the majority of people, bar friends and family, the majority of people will be tuning into TG Car to watch the deferred game. So they'll have the full game from start to finish. I'd imagine that's where most people will watch it. But other than that, you can catch radio commentary on the AFL Women's website from a number of sources, and obviously updates on the games across social media.
Yeah, well, looking forward to that one. 8:35am tomorrow. Hopefully we have some good news coming from Queensland down in Australia tomorrow, and we wish Orla Dwyer the very best of luck there. Mike Currane, as always, thanks for joining us on the show.
Fantastic, Paul, no problem. Thank you.
And now it's time for one final ad break here on Tip FM, but plenty more coming up on Across the Line after these. And you're very welcome back to the third and final part of Across the Line here on Tip FM with myself, Paul Carroll, on this Friday, the 21st of November 2025. Now, at this time of a Friday evening, it's time to talk dogs with Barry Drake.
Tip FM's Greyhound News Update with Greyhound Racing Ireland, your Christmas party destination across the nation.
It's another massive weekend in the world of greyhound racing, where some of the quickest greyhounds in the world of greyhound racing will be in action at Shelbourne Park on Saturday night. We'll touch on that shortly, but we have to start with the local action down at the Clonmel Greyhound Stadium tonight, of course, where the first will go at the traps there at 7:30. Patrick Brady is a man that's enjoying a fantastic year, the local Clonmel kennel, and Merlefield Levi has been in tremendous form in recent times. 28.76 winner last time. She's likely to give it another real good go in race number 4 tonight, but she's facing some really tough opposition. Ascot Logan has been a wonderful greyhound for Billy Murphy and Francis Mullen. It's notched up 30 career wins, and both of them look set to battle it out there. Slight preference for trap number 1, Merlefield Levi, who might be just that bit stronger in the closing stages, but as I said, it really is a fantastic contest there tonight. Also, Ascot Noah for the same connections, Billy Murphy and Francis Mullen, that's also won 30 times, of course, a litter brother to Logan. They've been terrific greyhounds, and Ascot Noah has good claims of leading all the way in race number 7. Elsewhere on the card, race number 8, of course, Squitchy is a greyhound that's really hit top form in recent outings for Kevin McLean. It's won its last 2, but up a couple of grades once again. I'm going to side with trap number 6 here, Pretty Exile, for Andrew Lynch down there in Cappoquin in County Waterford. Has won 5 of its 8 career outings and has got lovely early speed, and I think that one could be in front throughout there tonight. Certainly want to keep an eye on if you're heading along. Switching our attentions to Thurles Greyhound Stadium on Saturday night, of course, their first race due off there at 7 o'clock. Quality Jack will go well in the first race for Patrick Tracy and Doon. 7 times the winner, has got good form at this sort of level and should take plenty of stopping. The obvious danger for me is trap number 6, Bogger Bale, who steps back up and trip for the local kennel there of Liam Peacock. While in the following race, I'm going with trap number 6 here, Oriental Moon, for trainer Denise Ryan. This greyhound has been hitting the crossbar the last twice, but she's a very talented lady and certainly not without a chance. Obviously, the likes of trap number 2, Holiday BB, and trap number 1, Happy Days Sid, are others with strong claims. That's Thurles Greyhound Stadium on Saturday night. Back to Clonmel on Sunday night, of course. Their usual SIS racing meeting gets underway there at 6:04. In terms of predicting a winner on Sunday night, Marfield Kia has a good chance there in race number 3 for the already mentioned Patrick Brady. Just touched off last time in a slightly better contest from the inside of the track. Should go very close. While elsewhere there on Sunday night, moving on to race number 6, I'm going with trap number 3, who looks an improving greyhound, Slanestown Sydney, for Conor O'Donnell and fettered and trained by David Flanagan. Has a couple of nice runs in the book, and as I said, looks like an improving youngster and should go very well. Back to the big racing action at Shelbourne Park on Saturday night. Of course, some of the quickest greyhounds, as I said, in the world in action. We also have the 2025 IGOBF National Puppy 525 final, where Shotgun Des will start as one of the market leaders, no doubt there for trainer Graham Holland. But I'm going to take a chance with Ballycowan Frank for Dean Harper, who could be the value alternative. That was a massive performance in defeat last time, and definitely keep an eye on that. Race number 7 is the Winter Racing Festival Championship 575, €10,000 to the winner. Bombay Pat was a winner over this trip on Laurel's final night, of course, recently down at Cork. The Graham Holland trained runner will start as the market leader and should take plenty of stopping. Race number 8 is the Winter Racing Festival Championship 550 race, €10,000 to the winner. Trainer Graham Holland, very much the man at the top of the market here once again. Cheap Sandwiches, of course, a winner of the Boyle Sports Irish Greyhound Derby recently, of course. Big trial last time, 29.34. Going on that, it should be all one-way traffic at the head of affairs. We also have the Winter Racing Festival Championship 525 with €10,000 to the winner once again. Solo and Go, of course, trained by Liam Dowling, was just touched off in the final of the Laurels recently down in Cork, owned by the Kingdom's Palace Syndicate, which includes GAA football stars David and Paudie Clifford. I think they can have their night in the sun. Well, maybe not the sun, but they can have their big night on Saturday night at Shelbourne Park. Hopefully the weather will be good, but Solo and Go is certain to bring a big Kerry crowd, of course, and I think David and Paudie Clifford could be celebrating at the big Shelbourne Park venue on Saturday night. That would be quite a story after coming so close in the recent classic down in Cork, the Irish Greyhound Laurels. Finally, in terms of Shelbourne Park, this weekend the Winter Racing Festival Championship 525 can go the way of trap number 6 here. Glengar Marta I'm going for trainer Pat Buckley. Think she can prove very tough to beat, although from the inside of the track in her favourite trap number 1, Magical on Fire for trainer Patrick Guilfoyle. She won that Laurels down in Cork. She'll have her supporters as well.
And many thanks as always to Barry Drake there for giving us a comprehensive rundown on what's happening in the world of greyhound racing, both here in Tipperary and further afield as well. Well, that's just about all we got time for this week's edition of the show. No live games on Tip FM this weekend, so your next sporting outlet here on Tip FM will be Extra Time with Ronan Quirk. That is Monday evening, 7 o'clock. He'll be looking back on the weekend that was from a sporting sense here in Tipperary. So from myself, until next Friday night's edition of Across the Line, it's bye for now.